Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Getting Your Products Paid For and Then Some. This is week 4, Grow Your Community. And my name is Heather McMahill, and we are so excited to have everyone here tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We've got folks manning the chat group. If everybody can mute your phone so that we don't have any feedback. And then we're gonna if there's something, you guys want to say, if I'm not seeing the chat, just please, Kim, if you can just kind of come in and just let us know. Tierney and I are so happy to be here. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off here. Tonight's night is a very exciting one. I think you're gonna love this. I know you will. It's about growing your community, creating our tribe, and how we can organically and naturally create a community of people who want to be with us and that we can help bless in their lives with Young Living. So that being said, let's go ahead, and if you haven't grabbed it already, get your gathering oil. And if you do not have gathering, feel free to grab frankincense or any other oils that you feel drawn to, maybe abundance, whatever, it's okay. But gathering is what we're going with tonight. And we're gonna go ahead and as we're applying this, I like to put gathering either on my wrist or over my heart. So go ahead and take a drop and put it where you want. And gathering, it helps us to overcome like a chaotic energy and feeling like of everyday life to stay on the path of higher achievement. So this is, again, helping us to come through these 4 weeks that we've been building on. And the ingredients here in gathering is lavender, galbanum, frankincense, geranium, ylang ylang, spruce, cinnamon, rose, and sandalwood. So this is a very, very prized blend because it's got that rose in it. And it smells really nice, very unisex to me, but a little sweet. So as we're putting this on, I'm going to please repeat with me. Gather to me today those people you wish to bless into my Young Living family. So this is all about going out with service and helping those, like we may not know who do we help today. So if you put this oil on and you say your little affirmation, I promise you stuff will kind of start swirling toward you. So it's like, it's a great focuser in business and in life. Even if it's not for business, it just helps us to rein in and gather up all this energy that might be out there. So pull it in. Okay, love it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got to need to gather my strength right now. Not sure what's happening. Okay, guys, there was a great slide there, but I'm just going to tell you what it is. So basically, slide number 2 that is still loading has to do with coming up, finding our why, which is going to help us move forward. And this is all about our vision, direction, and purpose. So our vision should basically encompass what we care about the most in life, and helping our members or prospective members that that we are trying to come out and help is going to, hang on one second. All right, sorry about that. So there are 7 areas that most people fall into in the area of like vision and purpose and direction. So it's family, health, day-to-day happiness, financial success, fun / leisure / travel, faith or charity, and then friendship. So if we can help, first of all, when we find our area, like where we want to be focusing, and also we can help our others focus on theirs, if we can just help people in these 7 areas, it's pretty much going to be like easy breezy, because we're helping our members or our friends get to one of their goals in their life. And this may or may not be like so out there, but like someone's just going to say, yeah, my goal is my family. But honestly, when we look at this, everybody does have a family of some sort for the most part, and we all want good health. So sorry about that slide. So moving along, Young Living is kind of like, we're like the perfect trifecta everything that Young Living has can fall into 3 categories, basically. It's wellness, purpose, and abundance. And whether or not people know this, we have all of this, and everyone is looking for something in these 3 areas. So as you can see, the health, mind, body, emotions, like we're a product-driven company, so we can help people in that area. Sometimes people come in for health reasons, but they end up hanging out or staying because they just want to be with all these like-minded people who are super cool, super nice, no, the judgments, like, not there. They just feel like, oh man, it's just these people, I just love them. Maybe they don't have a super tight-knit friend group. Maybe they're like, a little bit isolated where they live. This community is global, and it ties us together. It's such a great bond. It's hard to explain, but when you're in it, you can kind of see it. And also there's something greater than us, a purpose, helping others. It's more than just, I like to say, you may have your day-to-day job, but it might not be so fulfilling, but the Young Living could be the piece that fulfills you. So if you are working a full-time job, but the Young Living is giving you something more, that's the purpose. And then there's the abundance. So this is residual income, supplemental income, as we've been talking about back in the comp plan, and this is legacy income. We did not talk about this in the comp plan, but Young Living is a willable income. So we get our thank you checks built up to around that $3,000 a month mark. This can be willed to your children, to an estate, to a church or charity of your choosing. This is something that you're just not going to find in any old company. So this is another really cool thing that I think people need to know about. They don't come into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to will some income to some kids, but this is something that you definitely can do. So it is legacy. All right, so Tierney, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you go, and just let me know, say okay when you're ready to advance the slides, okay?
You got it. Hi, guys. I just want to say, Heather, I'm so glad you put that slide in, because all I can tell you guys, probably many of us have that experience of coming into Young Living for a very specific reason, like for coming in for the wellness piece for ourselves or someone in our family. I can relate to that tremendously. I came in for a very specific thing. I had very specific digestive issues, and I always talk about how Digest was like my plug in. But all I can say is that the magic really started to happen when I realized that there was purpose and abundance through really leaning into Young Living. And when I realized that I could share what I love with some of the coolest people and talk about community, like-minded people, I really created something beautiful for myself. And I personally believe that we build and create beautiful things when we're in places of transition. So I really leaned into the community of Young Living, and then realizing that I could create financial abundance for myself when I was pregnant. And I decided that, my purpose changed a little bit in terms of what I was doing with my job, and I wanted to build more income and be with more people who were wellness oriented. So that was my plug-in, and I know a lot of us right now are probably in transition just because of the pandemic. So it's just such a beautiful time to be talking about this, leaning into the possibility of creating abundance and creating a community for yourself. So with that said, was anybody, just show me a raise of hands if you were on the social media class 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. You can raise your hand or put a little thumbs up in the chat. I just want to get a sense of who was on that call. We are going to be covering some of the concepts. Okay, I'm seeing a few thumbs up. So for those of you that were not on that call, for the next few slides, if this stuff is interesting to you, you're definitely going to want to go back and review the how to share Young Living on your social media, because a lot of what I'm going to do in the next few slides, I went way more into in that class. So that if this is interesting to you, just note you want to plug in there. So attraction marketing, so this is the concept of like attracts like. And when I talked about it in the social media class, of course, I was gearing it specifically towards how you share on social media. But this concept also applies to building a community and engaging prospects and members in real time and in person as well. Because attraction marketing all it is, it's strategically attracting people to you who already want what you have to offer. So when we use this concept of attraction marketing, what it does is it helps us get clear to define our tribe, who it is that we want to target in terms of the people that we want to work with, right? Because ultimately, when you start to share Young Living and you want to potentially build a business, you want to be working with people that you want to be working with, right? So for me, I tend to attract other women, some mothers, I'm a new mom. I'm also a mental health professional. So I tend to attract other service professionals who are healthcare workers and things like that. Maybe you're a fitness person, and so you're tapping into that. Maybe you work with animals, so you're tapping into that community. There's a concept in attraction marketing that is that people want to be with people who have a culture like their own. Right? So you're either attracting cultures or groups that are already like you, or you're attracting people that aspire perhaps to be more like what you have to offer, right? So you're helping elevate people to something that inspires them. So you want to be very clear on what your values are, and you want to be able to very specifically attract people who are aligned with similar values to you. This will make it easy as you grow your community. So Heather, you can hit the next slide. So the best way to do this, right, is to be very self-aware. So you want to, I did this exercise actually in my yoga teacher training. You want to think of words, maybe a couple words that you want people to think about when they think of you, right? So maybe you make a list of about 20 words, just brain dump, right? The first 20 words that come to you, like what makes you you? What is your style? What do you love? You can start to ask yourself some of these questions. And you can, so then Heather, you can hit the next slide. You can also start to ask your trusted circle of people. So this would be family and friends, the people in your no judgment zone, that maybe, what do they think of you, right? So now you can start to gather the, some of the words and the feelings that you put down, some of the words and feelings that the closest people around you perceive you to be, right? And maybe then narrow it down, pick the top 5 or 10, and then really start to think about like how you want to present yourself, right? And what kinds of people you want to be attracting based on understanding what you stand for. So the founder of Amazon, I put this quote in because I thought it was really good. He says, personal brand is what people say about you when you leave the room, right? So it's almost like the feeling that other people get when they're around you. And this is really, really important. So I encourage you guys to really think about it. And that exercise, like that's not going to take more than 5 or 10 minutes, but it's a really powerful one. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so again, building your brand, we talked about this in the social media class, but again, it's not just about sharing online. Your brand is an overflow of who you actually are. So I love this graphic, right? Because you have the culture, your purpose, your vision, your mission, your values, your behavior, which sort of comes at that tipping point, right? Because your behavior is something that's manifest. But all these things they exist kind of in the unseen. So you have to know what those things are. Your brand is everything that overflows on that, right? So your brand is other people's perceptions of you. Again, so really being self-aware. You have to make sure that you stand for something that you believe in and that you represent. So who you are, if you are, sharing online and building your community online, you want that to be the same. You want how you're presenting to be the same online as who you are in real life. And this requires knowing your beliefs and knowing your values. really digging into like what your worldview is, you know, asking yourself questions, really, really meaningful questions, and getting clear on what your values are. So my personal values, you know, I've done a lot of work on this to really narrow it in so that I can call in my tribe. And my values are truth, freedom, growth, and interconnectedness. That's it. Like I'm constantly just building around that. Maybe for you guys, it's something totally different, right? Maybe your values are humor and like, you know, a strong social life, you know, like it could be lots of different things that come up, but you definitely really want to start thinking about this in a really nuanced way. Okay, next one. Okay, good old Teddy Roosevelt. So this is a great quote, and I think the purpose of this is really just to hone in on the point that when we're talking to people, facts tell, but stories sell, right? So there's that little, you can remember, facts tell, but stories sell. So we don't want to be like the know-it-all when we're talking to people. It's important to be educated and to be informed. And for some people, right, you have to know your audience. Again, they're going to want a lot of information. They're going to want studies. They're going to want context and science. And we have to be able to adapt to those members. But the best way to connect with people from that heart-centered place is always to speak from your story. People want to hear your story, and that's how we build relationship. Okay, we can move on.
I'm not sure what the hang on one second.
It should be active listening.
Yeah, hang on. I don't know what it's doing.
Well, you guys can pop questions in the chat while Heather is loading the slides. Like if anyone has questions about anything I've said so far.
I don't know. Oh, hey.
Show anyway. Well,
Hey. Well, I have no idea what's happening, guys.
I can talk about it. Is it good? Can we move to the next slide, Heather? Like just skip over active listening. I mean, I can talk about it and we can just.
I'm not sure what's happening because I've done this like many times. It's not loading. So, okay, just talk if you can. I'm going to try to figure it out.
Okay. So the slide that is supposed to come up next is we're just talking about how to build relationship with your members and to build an organic community. And the best way to do that is to be very well versed in active listening. So when you're building a community, you're building trust and you're building mutual respect and camaraderie with your people. So if you are only talking at your members all the time, like when there's a sale or perhaps, you know, there's, you know, like right now there's something called the silver bound bonus, which we talked about last week in week 3. And maybe you're like going for that rank and, you know, you want to increase your organizational group volume and you're only messaging all of your members when you want them to buy something, right? That can feel to a lot of people very disingenuous. So the best way is to talk to your members and talk to them about what they care about before you talk to them about what you care about. And so this requires giving of yourself. And this requires investing emotional energy into conversation with someone else on your team before you ask something of them. This is something that many of us are constantly learning. So this is a craft. This is an art form. This is like, you know, this is the real work. Like this is This is the self-development stuff, and we have to remember that just because we love, or we're falling in love with Young Living and we care about it, it's our job when we're building a community to help other people care, because some people, the products sell themselves and they fall in love and there's not much we have to do. But most people, listen, there's so much that pulls on our energy, right? And so, it can be like, things can pull our attention elsewhere and people get very distracted, right? We're competing for a lot of people's attention with a lot of other things in their life. So they're not going to show up to your community event, your class, or even engage in your incentive or your giveaway if you have not consistently dripped love on them, engaged in conversation with them, right? So there it is. Yay. Yeah, so we often, I think, and maybe if anybody who has begun to share, if you have an experience with this or a question with this, you can type it in the chat. But a lot of us, I think, experience like we enroll the first few people. It's always our low hanging fruit, right? It's usually our family and our friends. And we may feel like at some point when we're trying to build a community, like we've run out of people to talk to, right? Or we question how big our network is. And then maybe we're starting to feel like a little discouraged or burnt out because some of the few people we've enrolled are not really ordering. And it's like, how do I build a community on that? If this is trust me, I think most of us can say we've been there, right? And so what we have to remember is that if this is happening, or if this is happening to you, that it takes that shift in your mindset to go, okay, I obviously have not been engaging in relationship with my community, right? So pulling everything back and remembering that we have to invest in relationship and really, really like practice listening, right? So again, it just kind of comes full circle to that. So I think we're ready to hit the next one. Yeah, so this is, again, this kind of speaks to like people don't care until they have a reason to care. And so our job is to get their attention onto Young Living. And we do this by listening to them and finding out what motivates them. And some of the best ways we can do that is to consistently be in relationship, having coffee, asking questions, like what made you get the kit? Like, are you in love with the products yet? How can I serve you? Calling them, doing messenger threads with your members, examining their needs, keeping a list of the members that you want to nurture and engage. So organizationally, right? Like getting a notebook for your Young Living business and or having even a member profile for each member. Each member could have a different page and notes you take on what their needs are, and checking in and following up. And then once you reach out to them, tag them in a Facebook post that has to do with their needs, something that's in one of the larger Facebook groups, or send them an article that has to do with something, like sometimes it's not Young Living related at all. I've sent members articles about the microbiome and, like if they have digestive stuff. And so you can get really creative and really just make it relative to what their wellness goals are and what they need for that experience. Okay, I think we can move on. So speaking of, listening to your members and finding out what motivates them and getting them to care, one of my favorite ways to take care of my members and engage them right away after I enroll them is to do a wellness assessment with them. And this is great because it helps people naturally understand the value of consistently pouring into themselves. And this helps them understand the value of essential rewards. It puts a really well formulated month by month, like concept or package around like how their needs could be met. And so there's an online version of this that you can quickly text or email your members. And there's also a PDF version if you want to make printouts to bring to, you know, classes when things lift and we can have in-person classes again. This is what it looks like. It's just really incredible. It goes through the body systems, and it you know, breaks it down in terms of what their needs are in terms of body system. And so you'll get totals in each column, and whatever their high, usually, you know, whatever their highest body system is, maybe their top 1, 2, or even 3 highest body systems, you get back together with the member, you know, pick up the phone, maybe meet them in person and go over it. And, you know, there's a really nice tool on the right here where there's product recommendations and essential oils for those body systems. So you can help them start to formulate a 3 or 4 month wellness plan based on those body systems with a couple products that are going to target their needs, and people feel really cared for. It's also just really cool because it's like, you know, I take this every couple of months and it's always like spot on. So it's just a really good way to take care of your people. Okay, I think we can move on. Okay. So community momentum in your organization. This is very important. So this is about what we call the 4 F's. So this is like building a community requires a growth mindset that is accepted and duplicated by the other people in your organization. And to do that, you have to create momentum. So momentum is other people working alongside with you at the same time. So momentum is like the definition of momentum, right, is mass times velocity. So if you think about it in terms of your Young Living business, it's like mass is all your people. So let's say you have 5 people in your organization. So you want to think about all your people in combination with velocity, which is all of those people moving together in the same direction at the same time, right? So you want your people to jump in with you at the same time, right? So that's why really encouraging and following up with people at like right away in those first 1, 2, 3 months builds tremendous momentum with your people, helps them fall in love, and helps them duplicate in sharing. So the idea here is that if we are interested in the idea of residual income, right? Income that comes after we take a season, whether that's a week or a month or more off of working our Young Living business, then we need to build into these 4 F's to create the momentum in the community. So the forum is probably the most important to talk about because it is where your team or your community gathers in one place. So a forum is a place to access your people at the same time. So for most of us starting out when we're sharing, it will look like text threads. If people feel that texting is invasive, maybe a Facebook thread, because sometimes people are weird about text threads. I know I can be like, sometimes I want to opt out, like in family threads. It's like, guys, be quiet. You know, it's like too much, like too many people at once. So Facebook is a nice way to do that. Zoom calls, right? Conference calls. Eventually in-person classes. The other way, which is great and which is so easy, especially when we're starting out, is plugging your members into the larger pre-existing Facebook groups that already exist. So if you guys remember from week 1 and week 2, we talked about and we gave you guys the resources of the top 3 or 4 Facebook groups that our team is involved in. So Good Life Oils, Joyful Aroma, Lavender Lounge, like these are groups that we definitely want to be part of so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. We want to engage our friends and our family members into that forum, and then we want to add the fire. So the fire requires us to have energy and passion, and it's what makes our forum attractive and exciting. It's what literally stokes, like it keeps everything alive, right? So it's like, getting people believing in whatever it is that they need, right? It's believing in the products, or maybe it's believing in the income earning opportunity, right? And meeting people where they are. It requires putting your heart and soul into the process, and that requires, right, heart and soul requires knowing what lights you up. So that goes back to self-awareness. You have to know what's going to keep you in this in the long run, or it's very easy to just kind of fizzle out, right? The fire is what is exciting, right? So it's like getting excited about coaching someone, mentoring someone, offering them gifts, giving them free things, holding classes, coming up with creative ideas to help your people. This is like the really exciting part about working in Young Living. For me, I love this piece. And I just think it's the thing that keeps, I think it's the thing that keeps most of us going. And then the last piece is the frictionless thing, the frictionless nature of really just helping your members feel like there's no big commitment in loving and sharing Young Living, right? The products usually sell themselves. We don't have to, we do product education, but when people get the oils and the products on, it's very unlikely that people have something negative to say, right? So it's get them to love their products, and then ease your people into the idea of sharing and wrapping their minds around this as a business. Keeping things simple. And what that looks like is giving your people access to graphics and images that your team may be using if they want to share online, right? So plugging them into the Facebook groups, giving them the apps, giving them all the resources that they may need. People do not need to go and recreate the wheel to share Young Living. You can also help your members by offering classes or events to their new people. So it's the concept of like, hey, I'll teach for you. You've never taught before. If you're not confident, hey, I enrolled you. I will teach your mother or your friend or a group of your people. You can see how it's done. And then maybe we teach together, right? And then maybe you're ready to go off and teach on your own. Some people are ready to teach on their own right away, but most people need to be handheld in the beginning, and we need to remember that this is a business where we nurture our members. So that goes a long way. Plugging them into the resources and the classes that exist virtually. So we talk about the wellness, the Wednesday introduction to Young Living, which happens every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's our Royal Crown Diamond, Chris Opfer. He's a brilliant teacher. It's super fun. Talk about fire. He's constantly giving giveaways throughout the call and engaging people in the introduction and how to use their kit. He talks about essential rewards. It's easy. We don't have to teach introduction classes every week. Chris offers there for that. You can share pocket references with your people, right? So you don't have to be the encyclopedia again that knows everything. You can resource them to things that they can then empower themselves to teach their people to do. So we have the essential desk reference that we love to talk about. Plug them into training videos. Young Living Training and Education is a great spot for that. Hold their hand with product education, especially in the beginning, and make their experience really, really easy. This is what makes people not feel overwhelmed about sharing and potentially building a business in Young Living. Okay, I think we're good for time. And Heather, I think that wraps up my piece if you want to move forward.
Thank you so much, Tierney. This was amazing. I have lots of notes over here and a lot of cool stuff sparking out of this. Stephanie was asking, where is the essential oils desk reference? It's a great question. So Stephanie, there's two that we have. There's a book version and there's an app version. Kim is going to her desk here, or her bookcase, to show you what they are. So there's a big desk one. It's the giant spiral ring bound. It is the big bad kahuna. It's got supplements and oils in there. It's everybody needs the big one. The small one, there's more lifestyle in there. The small one is basically bedtime reading. It's the print's a little bit smaller, but it's handy dandy. You can take it with you. But that's a great resource. And then there's the mini she's got. This is a little tiny one that can be given to new members. It's just stick it in your purse or your glove box or wherever you want to keep it with you. And then for those of us who always have our phones with us, which is all of us, there's some apps. There's a couple of apps that we like. My personal favorite is Reference Guide for Essential Oils. I just think it's the easiest to use. And then the next question we have is from Jasmine. Where are the trainings located? Are they printable to use for a class? So Jasmine, I think that you're talking about like if you're wanting to teach people about introduction to young living, things like that. We have there are some resources. Grow Workspace is one. There is something called Oil Revolution Designs. Young Living has incredible trainings on the Young Living Product and Education Facebook group. It's awesome. And if you are looking for something, just check with one of us, so the person who invited you here, and we will make sure you get what you're looking for. And anyway, so there's great questions. Thank you. As far as this next slide, new mindsets, new results. So we've been talking a lot about like getting into our own mind, how we can like show up to members and doing positive thinking and studying mindset type of shifts so that we can take our business to the next level, or we can just get out of our own way, which is where a lot of times we tend to get stuck, I would say, if you're in like this type of a business. Can you hit to the next slide, Yasmin? Okay, so we've got some really cool stuff coming up here. I would like to just mention the mindset shifts are coming. So this is the new exciting things that we have. We're moving into this new direction. But before we get to that, this is just some of our following up with our growing your community. This is our action steps. So we want to continue to work with our gathering abundance or gathering blend or your frankincense in the morning and the evening with your affirmation to kind of bring us into this positive mindset as we start our day and when we wind down our day. Next is engaging with our friends and families, our low-hanging fruit where we are, maybe creating relationships, learning how we can serve them. And then once you are to the state where they're like, you see where they have a need, then helping them send the wellness assessment to have them fill it out. I actually also will do it with not yet members. So I've met with people who are like, yeah, I have an issue. And I'll say, well, let's sit down and do this first. And then by the time we get to the point where they are ready to get their products, they already have told us that these are my issues and this is, let's focus on the top 3. And because it's not overwhelming, it kind of sets them up already for essential rewards, their wellness plan, and they are already committing just because they've already identified. It's not me saying, well, I think you have this and that. Why don't we do this? It's they've come up to me and said, these are the things that I need, and here, let's go with those. So that's like a great tool. Love it, love it. And then recapping, adding our members to the Facebook groups so that we're not feeling like we have to recreate the wheel by starting our own new groups. Use the tools, just use what's provided. When our upline has something, we are going to add into that. We're going to use the classes. Nancy Weber just did a mind mapping class yesterday. It was amazing. So she's in the Joyful Aroma Club. We just tag our people in there and say, here it is. As far as etiquette goes for putting people in our groups, just a quick housekeeping thing. When we click invite, it's great and all, but the way it works with Facebook, they kind of hang out in a holding tank until they see it and have to accept it. So it's not going to allow them us to drop them in. So please let your members know, hey, I think there's a group or two that I would like to add you in. Just please be on the lookout for the notifications, or you can send them the URL, say, here's the link, go ahead and jump in when you're ready, that kind of thing. So that's like a little bit of Facebook etiquette. And then, like Tierney was saying, creating little threads. If you've got a few people who are like, oh, we're all talking about like emotions or beauty or healthcare, pet care, kind of thread them together. And this way you can kind of keep them all, especially if they are friends or family members, you can send them all 3 something together. These little chat threads are like with Facebook Messenger, they're easy. They're non-invasive. Like Tierney said, it's not going to pop up a text like when they don't want, and they can mute them. That's the beauty of the Facebook Messenger thread. You can always mute them. So again, not recreating the wheel. And so that's kind of our going forward homework. All right, next slide, please. All right, so we always bring you guys resources. So the number one is our wellness assessment, AKA the body assessment quiz, and there's the link for that. So it's the homepage where you're gonna get the PDF or the online version. If you do email it to your member, they're gonna fill it out and they'll have to screenshot it and then like send it back to you, or they can just tell you what their results were over the phone and you can just have that conversation since we're not in person a lot of times. There are, I'm going to skip over this next one, but there's 2 books you can see I've put on the side. These are 2 of my favorite. If you didn't get to some of the Tierney's social media training, and or if you did and want to kind of go deeper, this Getting Noticed is a great book on standing out in the world of social media, and The Boss Up is a lot of the mindset stuff too. I happen to just like these. I like Lindsay Moreno a lot, and I find that what she speaks about is kind of threaded throughout the 4 weeks that we've been talking about here. So again, we didn't really talk much about this, but these are like Amazon things you can grab if you're just like wanting to soak up some general business, marketing, social media stuff. I love that. And then this bullet point, star number 2, is Jordan Schrant's business bundle. So we talked about mindset coming forward. We're going to be, for those who are interested in moving forward with a little bit more training on the mindset level, we are going to be doing a mindset boot camp with Jordan Schrant. She's a Royal Crown Diamond in Young Living, and she came up with these 4 little mini booklets, and they are basically having to do with all the things that Tierney has been teaching here and we've been talking about throughout the week. So we've been taking a little bit in each of our weeks on this training, and it has to do with heart work, like hard work, like this is not easy, doing micro work behind the scenes, and momentum work, which is again this momentum that Tierney was talking about. It's a really cool little training. We're going to be moving forward with that. So that's for those who want to maybe jump forward and keep going with that. We're going to have that available for people to learn with us. And then last, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. But for our bonus session, we've been doing 1 bonus round each week. This Wednesday, 7 o'clock, we're going to do a replay of one of our convention workshops called Telling Your Story to Inspire Others. It's really brief. It's 20 minutes. So we're going to hop in, and we also felt like we would like to wrap up this masterclass. So if anybody has questions along the way and you just want to like come in with your final Q's and A's after you've done some of your homework, if you've been feeling like if there's an area you want to just touch on or tell us what you've been doing and what's been working for you, we're going to hold the last 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever we have to just kind of wrap up the process. So we thought that'd be like a nice way to end it versus like, we're stopped here tonight. So there is that. So that's all happening 7 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, for those who want to bring your members, new guests to the Intro to Young Living with Chris Opfer, that's at 8 o'clock. So that's our Wednesday evening. All right, next slide, please. Okay, and so this is what we were talking about. Kim, did you want to unmute yourself and just give us a little, carry us out here?
All right. I have to, I have I have it really small, so it's hard for me to see it. So I'm just trying to enlarge. Hold on 1 second.
If you can, I'll read it for you, Kim. It's okay.
Nope, I got it. Yeah, so what we're trying to move into with everyone here who's ready basically for the next step, we're looking to start a boot camp per se with this with the Jordan booklets, and part of her 4 business bundle is she calls the funnel, and funnel your focus, and it is a really nice framework. It's created that it can be a workbook for you, but even if we're not using like a paper workbook for it, the information that's in there is designed to help you, and at each moment where a person is in their journey in Young Living, and where and how you can help move them through. So bringing new people on, your prospecting, the art of prospecting, conversations, what happens when a person then gets their kit, and then how do you help them fall in love with Young Living, and then help them maybe share for the first time. and possibly decide to build a business. So she really has a great framework on all of that for yourselves to figure out where your people are, and it will help with all of the what Heather was talking about, like those IPAs, those income producing activities. And it's just been amazing. We actually did Jordan, we did this last spring, and honestly, it has changed completely how our team is running. So if you're in and you've been connecting, the past 4 weeks, I highly recommend you hop in that with us. We are taking the big jump and doing it at 9 a.m. on Monday mornings, right? Nothing like a, biz boss to get started. We're hoping to have these recorded, right, Heather? We should be able to record. So for anyone who is working during the day or, and that's difficult for you, you can still hop in. And again, we're all here. We're all human. Let's, we are figuring this out as we go. We're trying to hold Monday nights still for our, educating our team and doing this kind of training cycle where we're introducing new people to the lifestyle, right, to the oils, and making it frictionless for all of our members by holding as a full team a way where you can get your new people and bring them in. So we're looking, Heather, do you have that actual schedule up there? Yes. So like the first and third Mondays of a full week in a month, we're looking to do a new to the oils class, which is maybe focused on the oil starter kit, the Ninja starter kit, the Thief starter kit, or the CBD, and we'll rotate it. And that should be fun. And the key is to get your new people, let's say all the people that you just enrolled this month, right? Or that you've enrolled in the last 2 months, something to help plug them into. And you'll have that option. The first, and then on Thursdays, we'll do what we call an everything YL. So it's essentially like a 102 class where you're helping members understand what's beyond the kits. Like, how do we make this a lifestyle? So this is where we can do topics like the skincare classes, the supplements, or emotions, or pet care, or kids seedlings line, or, again, that's all topics of interest. And then the second and fourth Mondays, I don't know if that, right? Second and fourth Mondays will be a class for new to the business. And so we're calling it Star Factory. So it's people who are already, they've shared with their first person, or they're absolutely ready and wanting to share with their first person. So we are going to be holding that space for business topics like, let's talk about follow-up this week, or let's talk about strategic placement, or let's talk about, like we're going to do different topics. Again, this will all be generated by our team and what we need. Okay. So really communicating with your upline about what you need and what your team needs. And so it's like the meat and potatoes, everything that you've had for the last 4 weeks, let's put it into action and helping each other. And doing these kind of like work sessions. We called it, what did we call it, girls? Like our power hour. And it really, this whole system will help you decide whatever time you've got to put into your Young Living business. If it's an hour a day, an hour a week, we're going to help you be able to, break that down and get the most out of your work time. Greg, did you have a question? Oh, okay. I thought I saw you raise your hand. So, and then our July focus, I think we've been leading up to this, is really normalizing sharing, helping everyone, either like whether they, want to be a casual sharer or become a business builder. Either way, the Young Living opportunity allows people to share with other people. So our idea is to do each person finding one person to enroll. If you look at everyone in your team that you have right now, a goal to set for yourself to see how can we do this? Can everyone at least introduce Young Living to one person in your team? What growth you would have, and what that would do for your paychecks, for your team, whatever your goal happens to be. If it's OGV, So that's the campaign that we're working towards for July. What we do for, like, we're still in this kind of, many people have the end of July for maybe the last opportunity for them to make a silver bound bonus. So we really want to keep this kind of momentum going, these hustle months, or whatever word you want to use. It's really important that we keep going. The group that we work out of is called like the 90-day, run to grow kind of group. And it's this like 90-day cycle of hustle. And what you do now up until, like, for June, July, August is going to set the tone for what your business is going to look like in the fall. So we want to keep and historically summertime has been where people take breaks, and we want to make sure we keep going with our personal development and, working with. Any questions? I see, let me just see, was there that? Okay, no. Were there any other questions? Love it. Funnel your focus in a binder to move people. I just did that. You don't have to put it in a binder, but yeah, I just, old teacher in me. And I did for a while. I'm definitely very much paper oriented. I'm learning to be a little bit more digital. Was keeping up with it. You can make photocopies and actually keep all the information together. But again, even if you don't use it as your workbook to organize your work time, the concepts that are in there are going to be priceless. So, does any